There are moments in life that break you in ways you didn't know you could break. Moments that cut so deep, the wound never really heals. For me, that moment came on a Saturday morning when I asked to do the most natural thing in the world. I asked to hold my grandson. I'm Loretta Johnson. I'm 57 years old. And 6 months ago, my daughter Diane had her third child, a beautiful baby boy named Noah. I'd seen him in photos, watched him grow through a screen, but I'd never held him, never felt his weight in my arms, never been allowed to be his grandmother. Until that Saturday, when I finally thought I'd get my chance. When I extended my arms and asked the simplest question, "Can I hold him?" And my daughter looked at me and said, "Maybe next year." Before I tell you what happened after those words, I want to ask you something. If this story speaks to you, if you've ever been kept from your grandchildren, hit that like button. Subscribe because there are more stories coming. And drop a comment telling me what city you're listening from. It means everything. This is about the cruelty of using children as weapons, about having to choose between your dignity and your grandchildren, about the moment I realized that sometimes love means walking away. I found out Diane was pregnant through Facebook, not a phone call, not a text message, a public post. I was scrolling one evening 15 months ago, and there it was, a photo of an ultrasound, blue border. The caption read, "Baby number 3 coming soon. Yo, we're so blessed." 47 likes already, comments pouring in, friends congratulating her, asking if she'd found out the gender yet, saying how excited they were, and there I was, her mother, finding out with everyone else, like I was just another follower, another stranger on the internet. This was during our estrangement, after the big fight, after I'd set boundaries and they'd cut me off. So I shouldn't have been surprised. But it still hurt. Because this was my grandchild, my blood, growing inside my daughter, and I was the last to know. I stared at that ultrasound photo for a long time, zoomed in, tried to make out features that weren't there yet. This was going to be my third grandchild, and I didn't know if I'd be allowed to know him. I didn't comment on the post, didn't like it, just saved the photo to my phone and cried. Noah was born on a Tuesday in July. I know because Diane posted about it. Welcome to the world, Noah James. Born July 15th at 3:47 a.m., 6 pounds, 8 ounces, 19 inches, perfect in every way. Our family is complete. Oufoué. The photo showed a tiny baby wrapped in a blue hospital blanket, eyes closed, perfect little face. Diane's hand holding his. I sat in my apartment, staring at that photo, tears streaming down my face. My grandson had been born, and I wasn't there. Didn't know Diane was in labor. Didn't get to wait nervously for the news. Didn't get to rush to the hospital with flowers and excitement. I found out the same way hundreds of other people did. Through a Facebook announcement, I zoomed in on every detail of that photo, his tiny nose, his little fingers curled up, the dark hair on his head. This was my grandson. And he'd entered the world without me knowing, without me being part of it. I wanted to comment, to say congratulations, to acknowledge that I existed, that I was his grandmother, but I didn't, because I knew it wouldn't be welcome, because Diane had made it clear I wasn't part of this. So I just saved the photo, added it to the folder on my phone labeled Noah, a folder full of pictures of a baby I'd never met. For 6 months, I watched Noah grow through a screen. Diane posted constantly, every milestone, every cute moment, every tiny change. First smile, posted at 2 months. The photo showed Noah in a bouncer, grinning at something off camera. 43 likes. First laugh, posted at 3 months, a video. Diane was making silly noises, and Noah was giggling, his whole face lighting up. 62 likes, 27 comments about how adorable he was. Learning to roll over, posted at 4 months. Noah on a playmat, caught mid-roll, looking surprised at himself. Starting solids, posted at 5 months. Noah in a high chair, face covered in mashed sweet potato, looking confused and adorable. Every single milestone I saw through Facebook or Instagram. Never in person, never in real life. I saved every photo, every video. I watched them over and over, studying his face, memorizing his expressions, learning what his laugh sounded like through my phone speaker. This was my grandson, my blood, Diane's son, and I knew him only as well as any stranger on the internet did. Maybe less, because at least some of those strangers got to see him in person, friends who visited, family members who were invited over, but not me, not his grandmother. I was just another person scrolling past his photos, double tapping to like, moving on with my day, except I couldn't move on. Every photo felt like a knife, a reminder of what I was missing, of the relationship I should have had, but didn't. 3 months ago, things started to shift. Diane began responding to my messages again. It started small. I'd sent her a text asking how she was doing. Usually, those texts went unanswered, but this time she replied, "I'm good, busy with the kids, but good." It wasn't much, but it was something. I didn't push. Didn't ask about Noah. Didn't mention that I desperately wanted to see him. I just kept it light. Over the next few weeks, we exchanged messages here and there, about nothing important. The weather, a recipe she'd tried, how Jaden was doing in school, surface-level conversation, but it was communication, and after months of silence, I'd take it. I was careful, so careful. I didn't want to say anything that would make her pull away again, didn't want to rock the boat. So I talked about Jaden and Amara, asked about their activities, their interests, sent them little gifts for no reason. But Noah? I didn't mention him, because I was terrified that bringing him up would end this fragile reconnection we were building. I told myself that if I was patient, if I didn't push, eventually Diane would invite me over. Eventually I'd get to meet him. I just had to wait. Be good, not ask for too much. So that's what I did. I waited. Last week a message came through that made my heart stop. "Do you want to come over for coffee Saturday morning? Nothing big, just me and the kids. 10 a.m.? I read it 5 times. Then 10, then 20. She was inviting me over, to her house, with the kids, which meant Noah. I'd finally get to meet Noah. I forced myself to respond casually, like this wasn't the biggest thing that had happened to me in months. "I'd love to. Can I bring anything?" "No, just yourself." "Just myself? Okay, I could do that." The rest of the week dragged. Every day felt like a year. I couldn't focus on anything. Couldn't think about anything except Saturday morning. I was going to meet my grandson, finally. After 6 months of photos and videos and longing, I was going to hold him. At least, I thought I was. I spent the entire week preparing for Saturday. I went shopping for small gifts. A new book for Jaden about space. I'd seen him post about being interested in planets. An art set for Amara with watercolors and fancy paper. She loved to draw. And for Noah, I found the most beautiful mobile. Stars and moons in soft blues and grays. It played gentle music when you wound it up. I imagined it hanging over his crib. Imagined him looking up at it, soothed by it. I wrapped each gift carefully, made them look special without being over the top. I picked out my outfit 3 days in advance. Something nice but casual. A soft blue sweater and dark jeans. Not trying too hard, but put together. I wanted to make a good impression. Wanted Diane to see that I was respectful. Appropriate. I practiced in the mirror how I'd interact with Noah. I didn't want to seem desperate. Didn't want to grab for him immediately. I'd let Diane guide the interaction. But in my head, I imagined holding him, feeling his weight, smelling that baby smell, finally being his grandmother in reality, not just in name. I could barely sleep all week. Every night I'd lie awake thinking about Saturday, playing out scenarios, imagining the moment I'd finally get to touch him. Saturday morning I woke up at 6 even though I didn't need to be at Diane's until 10. I couldn't sleep anymore. Too nervous, too excited, too everything. I got up, made coffee, tried to eat breakfast but couldn't. My stomach was in knots. I showered, did my hair, put on a little makeup, got dressed in the outfit I'd chosen. I loaded the gifts into my car, checked my appearance one more time. I looked good, presentable, like a grandmother who deserved to be included. I drove to Diane's house slowly, carefully. I got there at 9:58, 2 minutes early. I sat in my car for those 2 minutes, hands shaking on the steering wheel. This was it. This was the moment I'd been waiting for. At exactly 10 o'clock, I got out of the car, grabbed the gifts, walked to the front door. I took a deep breath and rang the doorbell. The door opened, and there was Diane, with Noah on her hip. My breath caught. There he was, real, three-dimensional. Not a photo, not a video. Actually there. He was wearing a light blue onesie. His hair was dark and soft-looking. His eyes were big and curious, looking right at me. He was beautiful, perfect. Everything I'd imagined and more. "Hi, Mom," Diane said. Her voice was neutral, not warm, but not cold either. "Hi, sweetheart," I managed to say, though my voice was shaky. I couldn't take my eyes off Noah. 6 months old, my grandson, right there. Diane stepped back, letting me in. I walked into the house, still staring at the baby. He looked at me with those big eyes. Curious, but not scared. Just looking, taking me in the way babies do. I wanted to reach for him, to touch him. But I didn't. Not yet. I had to let Diane set the pace. "Grandma!" Jaden came running from the kitchen. He was 8 now, tall, growing up so fast. I tore my eyes away from Noah to hug Jaden. He wrapped his arms around me and squeezed tight. "I missed you," I whispered. "Missed you too," he said. Amara appeared next, 6 years old now. She'd lost a tooth since I'd last seen her, and she gave me a gap-toothed smile. "Hi, Grandma Loretta." I hugged her too, tight. These kids, God, I'd missed these kids. They were excited about the gifts. I handed them over, and they tore into them immediately, exclaiming over the book and the art set. But my attention kept drifting back to Noah, to Diane holding him, to the baby I still hadn't touched. Diane walked toward the kitchen. "Come on, I have coffee and muffins ready." We all followed her. Jaden talking about his book. Amara already opening the art set, and me walking behind, eyes on the baby in Diane's arms. In the kitchen, Diane put Noah in a baby seat on the table, one of those bouncer things with a little mobile attached. I sat down next to him, as close as I could get without being obvious. "Hi, Noah," I said softly. My voice came out almost a whisper. He turned his head toward my voice, looked at me with those big eyes. God, he was perfect. I could see Diane in his face, and a little bit of me too, maybe. Around the eyes. "Hi, sweet boy," I said again. "I'm your Grandma Loretta." I reached out slowly, let my finger touch his hand. He grabbed it immediately, the way babies do, that instinctive grip. My heart exploded. This tiny touch, this small connection. It was everything. I sat there, finger held by his little hand, and felt tears prick my eyes. This was my grandson, and I was touching him, finally. We sat around the kitchen table. Diane poured coffee, set out muffins, acted like everything was normal. I tried to act normal too. Talked to Jaden about school, about his classes, about his friends. Asked Amara about her dance lessons. She told me excitedly about learning a new routine. But my attention kept drifting to Noah. Every sound he made, every movement, every time he looked my way. I wanted to pick him up, wanted to hold him so badly it physically hurt, but I waited. I didn't want to overstep, didn't want to push, didn't want Diane to regret inviting me. So I sat there, talking to the older kids, drinking coffee I couldn't taste, eating a muffin I couldn't feel. All while my grandson sat 3 feet away from me, and I couldn't hold him. After about 30 minutes, Noah started fussing. Little whimpers that quickly turned into full crying. Diane sighed, set down her coffee, reached over and unbuckled him from the seat. She lifted him up, put him against her shoulder, started patting his back. "Shh! It's okay, buddy. You're okay." But Noah kept crying. That newborn cry that's so insistent, so demanding. Diane stood up, bounced him gently, swayed back and forth. "He's probably tired," she said to no one in particular. Noah's cries filled the kitchen. Diane kept bouncing him, kept trying to soothe him. And I sat there, watching, my arms aching to hold him. I could help. I could soothe him. If she'd just let me. I couldn't hold back anymore. I stood up. My whole body was pulling toward that crying baby, toward my grandson who needed comfort. I reached out my arms, the most natural gesture in the world. "Can I hold him?" I asked. My voice was soft, hopeful, pleading without meaning to plead. Diane stopped bouncing. She looked at me. Her face was unreadable. For a moment, she didn't say anything. Just stood there with Noah crying against her shoulder. The kitchen seemed to go quiet except for the baby's cries. Then Diane spoke. Her voice was calm, almost casual, like she was commenting on the weather. "Maybe next year?" I stood there, arms still outstretched, frozen. I wasn't sure I'd heard correctly. My brain couldn't process the words. "What?" I said. Diane adjusted Noah on her shoulder, wouldn't look at me directly. "Maybe next year, when he's older. When I feel more comfortable with it." My arms dropped to my sides. I felt like I'd been slapped. "Diane," I said slowly, "he's 6 months old. I'm his grandmother." She finally looked at me. Her face was set, determined. "And you will be, eventually, but not today. I'm not ready for that yet." Not ready? Not ready for what? For me to hold my own grandson? "He's crying," I said, my voice shaking. "I can help." "I've got it," Diane said firmly. She turned and walked out of the kitchen, toward the stairs, taking Noah with her. I stood there in her kitchen, arms at my sides, trembling. Jaden and Amara had gone quiet. They were watching me, confused by what just happened. I felt like I couldn't breathe. In that moment, standing in Diane's kitchen, everything became crystal clear. This wasn't about Noah being too young. This wasn't about Diane being protective. This wasn't about my safety or trustworthiness or any reasonable concern. This was punishment. This was control. Diane was using Noah, an innocent baby, as a weapon, as a way to hurt me, as leverage. She could let me hold him. There was no reason not to. He was 6 months old, plenty old enough to be held by his grandmother, but she wasn't going to, because making me suffer, making me beg, making me feel powerless, that gave her control. And control was what this was really about. I'd set boundaries with her months ago. I'd said no. I'd stood my ground. And she couldn't handle that. So now she was making me pay. And the price was my relationship with my grandson. Jaden got up from the table and came over to me. "Grandma?" His voice was small, worried. "Are you okay?" I looked down at him. This sweet boy. Old enough now to understand that something was wrong, but not old enough to understand what. "I'm fine, honey," I lied. My voice didn't sound fine even to my own ears. He looked toward where Diane had disappeared with Noah, then back at me. "Why didn't Mom let you hold the baby?" How do you answer that? How do you explain to an 8-year-old that his mother is being cruel? "Sometimes, grown-ups have complicated feelings," I said carefully. "Your mom is just being careful with Noah, that's all." But Jaden wasn't stupid. He could sense the tension, the wrongness of what just happened. "That's not fair," he said quietly. "No, baby. It wasn't. It really wasn't." I stayed another 30 minutes, because leaving immediately would make a scene, would upset Jaden and Amara, would give Diane ammunition to say I was dramatic or unreasonable. So I stayed. I sat at that kitchen table. I drank coffee that tasted like ashes. I ate a muffin I could barely swallow. I talked to the kids about nothing, forced smiles, pretended everything was fine. When Diane came back downstairs, Noah was quiet, sleepy. She'd put him in different clothes. He looked peaceful now, content. She didn't bring him back to the kitchen. She put him in a pack-and-play in the living room, where I could see him but not reach him. I watched him through the doorway, his little chest rising and falling as he slept, his tiny fingers curled up by his face, so close. But I might as well have been watching him through a screen again, because I still couldn't touch him, couldn't hold him, couldn't be his grandmother in any real way. When I finally left, I barely made it to my car before the tears came. I sat in Diane's driveway, hands gripping the steering wheel, sobbing. Maybe next year. Those words echoed in my head, over and over, the casual cruelty of them. Not today. Not, I'm not comfortable yet. But, maybe next year? A year. She was saying I had to wait a whole year before I could hold my grandson. He'd be a toddler by then. Walking, talking, a completely different child than the baby he was now. I'd miss everything. All the baby months, all the firsts, all the precious time when they're small and perfect and need you. She was taking that from me, on purpose, with full knowledge of what she was doing. I finally managed to start the car, drove home on autopilot, tears streaming down my face the whole way. People in other cars probably thought I was crazy. This woman crying at a stoplight, wiping her eyes, barely able to see the road. But I didn't care. I'd just had my heart broken by my own daughter. Again. I got home and immediately called Donna. She answered on the second ring. Hey, how'd it go? And I broke. Completely broke. Couldn't even form words at first, just cried. Loretta, what happened? I managed to tell her. About the visit, about Noah crying, about asking to hold him, about Diane's response. Donna was quiet for a long moment after I finished. Then she said, very carefully, Loretta, honey, you know what this is, right? What? I asked, though I already knew. This isn't about protecting Noah. This is about hurting you. This is punishment. This is abuse. She's using that baby as a weapon. Hearing it said out loud made it more real, more painful. I know, I whispered. And you can't keep accepting this, Donna continued. You can't keep letting her treat you like this, not even for your grandchildren. But if I don't accept it, I don't see them at all, I said. Baby, Donna said gently, you're not really seeing them anyway. You're seeing them on her terms, under her control, with her rules that change whenever she wants. That's not a relationship. That's being tolerated. She was right. I knew she was right. But it didn't make it hurt any less. That night, I made the mistake of checking Facebook. Diane had posted, of course she had, photos from the morning, Jaden with his book, smiling at the camera, Amara holding up her art set, and one photo of Noah, in Diane's arms, his face peaceful, content. The caption read, Perfect Saturday morning with my babies. Family time is everything. Yo. Family time. I had been there. I had been in that house during that family time. But I wasn't in any of the photos, wasn't mentioned in the caption. Might as well not have existed. To anyone looking at that post, it was just Diane and her 3 kids. A complete family. I wasn't part of it, even though I'd been sitting right there, even though my gifts had been opened in that moment, even though my grandson had been 3 feet away from me. I was erased, made invisible, while Diane presented her perfect family to the world. I closed Facebook, put my phone face down, tried not to cry again, but the tears came anyway. What would you have done in Loretta's place? Drop your thoughts below. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying the moment over and over. Maybe next year. The casualness of it. Like it was nothing. Like she was talking about maybe trying a new restaurant next year. Not about keeping me from my own grandchild. How do you say something like that? How do you look your mother in the eye and tell her she can't hold her grandson for a year? What kind of person does that? I thought about all my other grandchildren. Marcus, when he was born, I held him minutes after. Diane herself, I was the first person besides the doctors to touch her. Jaden, I was in the delivery room. Amara, I cut her umbilical cord. But Noah? 6 months old, and I hadn't been allowed to even touch him properly. One finger held briefly while he sat in a baby seat. That was it. That was my entire physical relationship with my grandson. And according to Diane, that was all I deserved for another 6 months at least. I must have dozed off eventually because I woke up Sunday morning feeling worse than when I'd gone to bed. Sunday morning, I sat at my kitchen table with coffee and tried to think clearly. This wasn't an isolated incident. This was part of a pattern. Every time I thought Diane and I were making progress, she found a new way to remind me of my place. When we first started talking again, she'd respond to my texts, but never initiate, making me always be the one reaching out. When I asked to visit, she'd agree but set strict time limits, 1 hour, not a minute more. When I tried to help with the kids, she'd shut me down. I've got it, I don't need help. And now this, inviting me over specifically to see Noah, getting my hopes up, and then crushing them with 3 words. This was intentional, calculated. She knew exactly what she was doing. The question was, why? Why did she need to hurt me like this? What did she get from it? Control, I realized. Power. She'd felt powerless when I set boundaries, when I said no, when I stopped being the mother who fixed everything. So now she was making me feel powerless, making me beg, making me suffer, and using my grandchildren as the weapon to do it. I opened my messages to Diane, started typing. Diane, I need you to understand how much yesterday hurt. I came to your house hoping to finally meet my grandson, hoping to hold him. And you told me maybe next year. Do you have any idea how cruel that is? He's 6 months old. I'm his grandmother. There's no reason I shouldn't be able to hold him. Unless you're punishing me. Unless this is about control. Is that what this is? Are you using Noah to hurt me? I typed it all out, everything I was feeling, everything I wanted to say. Then I read it over, and I deleted it, because I knew what would happen if I sent it. Diane would twist it, make me the villain, say I was being dramatic or demanding or disrespectful. She'd use that text as evidence that she was right to keep Noah from me, that I was unstable, that I couldn't be trusted. So I didn't send it. I saved it in my notes instead, just to have a record of what I wanted to say, even if I never could. On Monday, I called Marcus. We'd been in a good place lately, talking regularly. He'd been working hard, staying employed, really growing up. "Hey, Mom," he answered. "What's up?" I told him about Saturday, about going to Diane's, about Noah crying, about asking to hold him, about Diane's response. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "That's messed up," he finally said. Like really messed up. Even I can see that's wrong. Coming from Marcus, who'd been so defensive of Diane during our conflicts, that meant something. "Did she say why?" he asked. "She said she'd feel more comfortable next year, when he's older." "That's bullshit," Marcus said bluntly. 6 months is plenty old. I've seen Diane let her friends hold Noah. I've seen her let Kevin's mom hold him. This isn't about him being too young. This is about you. "I know," I said quietly. "I'm going to talk to her," Marcus said. "This isn't okay." Part of me wanted to tell him not to not make waves, to not risk making things worse. But another part of me was glad that someone else saw it, glad that I wasn't crazy, glad that even Marcus could see how wrong this was. 2 days later, Marcus called me back. "I talked to Diane," he said. His voice was heavy. "And?" He sighed. She's got a lot of justifications. She said she's protecting the kids, that you're not consistent, that she doesn't trust you won't disappear again." "Disappear?" I said, my voice rising. "She cut me off. I didn't go anywhere. She blocked me." "I know. I told her that. But she sees it differently. In her mind, you abandoned her when she needed you. And now she's protecting her kids from that happening to them." I felt anger surge through me. I never abandoned her. I set a boundary. I said I couldn't give her money anymore. That's not abandonment. "I know, Mom, I agree with you. But Diane, she's convinced herself that she's the victim here, and that keeping Noah from you is protecting him, not punishing you." "Do you believe that?" I asked. "No," Marcus said immediately. "I think she's being cruel. I think she's using that baby to hurt you. And I told her that." "How'd she take it?" "Not well. She told me to stay out of it, that I don't understand because I don't have kids. that this is between you and her. Of course she did. I thought about it for days, turned it over and over in my mind, and I came to a decision. I couldn't keep doing this. Couldn't keep accepting crumbs. Couldn't keep letting Diane dictate every aspect of our relationship while she dangled my grandchildren just out of reach. I needed to set a boundary, a real one. So I called Diane. She answered after 3 rings. Hey, Mom. Hi, honey, do you have a minute? Sure, what's up? I took a deep breath. I need to tell you something, and I need you to really hear me. Okay. I'm not going to keep visiting if I can't interact with Noah. I'm not going to sit in your house and watch my grandson like he's in a zoo. Like I'm not allowed to touch him or hold him or be his grandmother in any real way. Silence on the other end. So, I need you to decide, I continued. Either I'm his grandmother, which means I get to hold him and bond with him and be present in his life, or I'm not. But I won't be this half version anymore, where I'm allowed to look but not touch, where I'm invited over but treated like a stranger. Are you serious? Diane's voice was cold now. You're giving me an ultimatum? I'm not giving you an ultimatum. I'm setting a boundary. You get to decide who's around your children. That's your right as their mother. But I get to decide what treatment I'll accept, and I won't accept this anymore. Wow, Diane said. Her voice dripped with sarcasm. You've really learned about boundaries, haven't you? Congratulations. I stayed calm. This isn't about being difficult, Diane. This is about self-respect. You invited me over specifically to see Noah. You knew I wanted to hold him, and you said no just to hurt me. I said no because I'm not comfortable yet. It's been 6 months. How much longer do you need to be comfortable? A year? 2? When will it be okay? Or is this just another way to punish me for setting boundaries with you? Everything isn't about you, Diane snapped. Sometimes it's about what's best for my children. And you think what's best for Noah is keeping his grandmother away from him? Really? I think what's best for Noah is protecting him from people who might disappear from his life when things get hard. That stung, but I pushed through. I never disappeared. You cut me off. There's a difference. Okay, Mom, if you say so. The dismissiveness in her voice made me angrier. So what's your answer? I asked. Am I allowed to be Noah's grandmother or not? I guess not, Diane said coldly. If you're going to make demands like this, then no. I don't want you around my kids if you're going to have this attitude. I don't have an attitude, Diane. I have boundaries, just like you claim to. Then I guess we're done here, she said. I'll talk to you later. And she hung up. I sat there holding my phone, staring at the ended call screen. She'd chosen. She'd actually chosen keeping me away over letting me be a grandmother. I'd given her a simple choice. Let me hold my grandson, or I won't keep coming over to be humiliated. And she'd picked option 3, cut me off completely. I called Donna immediately. She hung up on me, I said when Donna answered. What happened? I told her everything, the call, the boundary I'd set, Diane's response. Donna was quiet for a moment. Then she said, You did the right thing. Did I? I just lost access to all my grandchildren. For what? For my dignity? Yes, Donna said firmly. For your dignity, for your self-respect, for your mental health. Loretta, what she was doing to you was abuse, making you come over just to hurt you, dangling Noah in front of you like a carrot. That's not love, that's cruelty. But now I don't get to see any of them, I said, tears streaming down my face. You weren't really seeing them before, Donna said gently. Not in any meaningful way. You were being allowed to observe them, under her strict control, on her terms. That's not a relationship. That's being tolerated. She was right. Deep down, I knew she was right, but it didn't make it hurt any less. She chose this, Donna continued. Not you. She could have said yes, could have let you hold Noah, could have been reasonable. But she chose punishment over peace. She chose control over family. That's on her, not you. I nodded even though she couldn't see me. I know you're right, but knowing doesn't make it easier. No, Donna agreed. It doesn't. This is going to hurt for a long time. But you did the right thing. You chose yourself, and that's something to be proud of. 3 weeks passed. No word from Diane, no texts, no calls, nothing. I still saw her Facebook posts. I know I should have unfollowed her, should have stopped torturing myself. But I couldn't. I needed to see my grandchildren, even if it was just through a screen. Noah had learned to clap. Diane posted a video of him sitting in his high chair, clapping his little hands together and laughing. 78 likes. Jaden had won an award at school for his science project. Photo of him holding a certificate, beaming with pride. 53 likes. Amara had performed in a dance recital, multiple photos in her costume, on stage, taking a bow. 92 likes. All these moments, all these milestones, happening without me. I saved every photo, every video, added them to my folders, my digital relationship with my grandchildren. It was all I had. Some days I thought about reaching out, about apologizing even though I hadn't done anything wrong, about begging for another chance. But I didn't, because Donna was right, because going back would mean accepting that treatment. And I couldn't do that anymore, even if it meant losing them completely. If you're still here, thank you for staying with Loretta's journey. The resolution is coming. It was a Thursday afternoon, 3 weeks after that phone call with Diane. I was home, working on a watercolor painting, trying to distract myself, trying to create something beautiful in the middle of all this pain. Then I heard a knock on my door. I wasn't expecting anyone. Donna was at work. Gloria had a doctor's appointment. I put down my brush and went to the door, looked through the peephole. My heart stopped. It was Diane, with a stroller, Jaden and Amara standing beside her. I opened the door slowly. We stood there looking at each other for a long moment. "Hi, Mom," Diane said. Her voice was different, quieter, less confident. "Hi," I said carefully. "Can we come in?" I stepped back, let them into my apartment. Jaden and Amara ran to hug me immediately. I held them tight, breathing them in. God, I'd missed them. Diane wheeled the stroller in. Noah was asleep, his little face peaceful. We all stood there awkwardly. The kids went to look at my paintings. Diane stayed by the door. "I talked to Marcus," she finally said. "A lot, over the past few weeks." I waited. And to Kevin, and to my therapist. She had a therapist now? That was new. And they all said basically the same thing. She looked down. That I was being cruel. That I was using Noah to hurt you. That it wasn't about protecting him. It was about punishing you. I still didn't say anything, just waited to see where this was going. "I didn't want to hear it at first," Diane continued. "I was so convinced I was right, that I was protecting my kids from someone who'd abandoned me. But the more people said it, the more I started to think, maybe I was wrong." She looked up at me. Her eyes were red, like she'd been crying recently. "I was wrong, Mom, about the Noah thing, about keeping you from holding him. Marcus was right. It wasn't about Noah's age or me being uncomfortable. It was about power, about making you feel as powerless as I felt when you set boundaries with me." She wiped her eyes. "And that's not okay. That's not who I want to be. I don't want to be someone who uses her kids as weapons, who hurts her own mother just to feel in control." I felt tears starting in my own eyes. "I'm sorry," Diane said. "Really sorry. Not just saying it to fix things. Actually sorry. What I did was cruel, and you deserved better." She walked over to the stroller, unbuckled Noah, lifted him out carefully. He stirred, opening his eyes, looking around sleepily. And then Diane did something I thought would never happen. She walked over to me and placed Noah in my arms. "This is your Grandma Loretta, Noah," she said softly. "I'm sorry it took so long for you two to meet properly." I looked down at my grandson, really held him for the first time, felt his weight, his warmth, the solid reality of him. He looked up at me with those big eyes, curious, not scared, just looking. "Hi, baby," I whispered. My voice was shaking. "Hi, sweet boy. I'm so happy to finally hold you." Noah reached up a tiny hand, touched my face, and I lost it. I sat down in my chair, still holding him, and cried. Happy tears this time, relief tears. Diane sat down across from me. She was crying too. I know I can't take back the last 6 months, she said. I know I hurt you, and it's going to take time to rebuild trust, but I want to try, if you'll let me. I looked at her. My daughter, flawed and human and trying. I'd like that, I said. We sat there for a long time, me holding Noah, Diane watching us, Jaden and Amara playing nearby. Was everything fixed? No, not even close. We had a long way to go, but for the first time in months, I felt hope, real hope. My daughter was trying. She'd acknowledged what she'd done. She'd given me my grandson. It was a start, and sometimes a start is all you need. So that's what happened when I asked to hold my grandson, and my daughter said, maybe next year, when she used an innocent baby as a weapon, when she made me choose between my dignity and my grandchildren. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done, walking away, setting that boundary, knowing it meant I might not see those kids for a long time, maybe forever. But sometimes love means refusing to accept cruelty. Sometimes being a good mother means teaching your daughter that you won't be treated that way, even if it costs you everything. Did Diane really change? I don't know yet. Time will tell. People don't transform overnight. She might slip back into old patterns. She might find new ways to exert control. But what I saw that day was real. The apology was real. The acknowledgement was real. And for now, that's enough. I'm not naive. I know this is fragile. I know we're building something new and it might not hold. But I'm allowing myself to hope. To believe that people can grow. That my daughter can grow. And I'm holding my grandson. Finally. After 6 months of photos and longing and heartbreak, I'm holding him. That's worth everything. Have you ever been kept from your grandchildren? Have you had to choose between family and self-respect? Have you ever set a boundary that cost you a relationship? Tell me in the comments. I need to know I'm not alone in this. If Loretta's story resonates with you, if you've been through anything similar, please subscribe. There are more stories coming. Real stories about the impossible choices we face when family becomes toxic. And before you go, click on the next video. It's about the moment I discovered something that made me question everything I thought I knew about my daughter. You won't want to miss it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for understanding that sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same thing. I'll see you in the next one.